Good morning. I'm pleased to declare the 2015 commencement for the Quinnipiac University School of Law officially open. Would everyone please stand for the invocation, which will be delivered by Reverend Jordan Lenahan, Catholic chaplain.
Please bow your heads. We are gathered now to celebrate success, to recognize determination and hard work, to acknowledge achievement. We are thankful for those who gave of themselves to bring our students to this moment. We are mindful that this is commencement, an ending that is likewise a beginning. Author of justice, be with us now, we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our platform party, which consists of our speaker and honorary degree recipients, whom you will meet in a few moments, university administrators, and the deans and faculty of the School of Law. It's now my privilege to introduce Jennifer Brown, Dean of the School of Law.
Good morning and happy Mother's Day. Welcome to Commencement 2015. Graduates, we are delighted to be celebrating with you today the completion and the culmination of all that you've achieved over your years here with us. And to the family and friends who've joined us, we say a heartfelt thank you. Thank you for bringing your beloved students this far with us, entrusting them to us for their legal education, and supporting them along the way. Now it is my honor to present Dr. John L. Leahy, President of Quinnipiac University, who will bring you greetings on behalf of the university community. Dr. Leahy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to all of you on this wonderful day of joy and celebration. To our law school graduates, I extend my heartiest congratulations to each and every one of you. You should all feel very proud of your accomplishments and the well-deserved recognition you are receiving today. The class of 2015 is arguably the best ever to come through the Quinnipiac School of Law, and many of you have accepted offers from prestigious law firms or judicial clerkships with some of the best minds in the legal profession. Several of today's graduates have already used their legal skills and knowledge through their work in our legal clinics. One of today's graduates, Nikki Bossert, served as this year's editor-in-chief of the Quinnipiac Law Review. I enjoyed working with Nikki in her role as a member of the board of Quinnipiac's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Service to Students. And I'm pleased to share that Nikki will serve as a fellow in our tax clinic following graduation. I also want to recognize your Student Bar Association president, Erica Rocha, who provided outstanding leadership and made significant contributions in representing students' concerns. Erica will be joining the corporate law department of Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy. The Quinnipiac University School of Law is advancing both in terms of academic quality and national recognition. These achievements are clearly a consequence of the exceptional work of our law faculty and the leadership of Dean Jennifer Brown and our Dean of Admissions, Ed Wilkes. In the final analysis, though, a law school, like any other school, will be judged best by its graduates. And so, members of the class of 2015, we're depending on you to make the best use possible of the education you have received at the Quinnipiac University School of Law. You have already left a significant mark on our School of Law, and I have no doubt that you will leave an even greater mark on the world that awaits you. Again, my congratulations and best wishes to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Dr. Leahy, for those kind remarks, and thank you for the many ways that you support and sustain the work of the law school. We appreciate it. Well, graduates, as some of you know, when I think about legal education and professional development, I like to use metaphors sometimes. And one of the metaphors I've used with some of you is sailing. I've told you that you are the captains of your own ship, and that the faculty and the staff of Quinnipiac are your crew members, right? We're here to support you, but you set the destination, and you're pretty much in charge of this journey. And it's kind of weird that I like that metaphor so much, because I grew up in one of the most landlocked places in this country, downstate Illinois, where it was highly unlikely I was ever going to see a sailing ship. But I did actually learn to sail, not one of these big ships with a crew, but a tiny little sort of sunfish kind of boat in a tiny little lake in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And despite my landlocked origins, I did learn to sail. And here's the central lesson I learned on that little lake. You can't change the direction of the wind, right? But you can adjust the position of your sails. Right? And when I've talked to you about being the captain of your ship, I may have seemed to assume that the wind was always going to be in your favor, right? And it was just a matter of, setting your destination, and everything was going to kind of push you where you wanted to go. But you know that's not true. You know that the winds, particularly in our profession, have been varying. They blow hard. Sometimes they seem to stop entirely. And they're not always blowing you in the direction where you would most like to go. But on that little lake in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I figured this out. If you set a landmark for your destination, in my case, it was usually some weird little tree or dock or that red cabin over there on the other side of the lake, and you get that into your mind's eye, you can sail for it, even when you seem to be headed off in a different direction. And it'll be in your mind's eye, and you'll recognize it when you swing back and that landmark comes into view. And if the wind doesn't blow you directly to that goal in the most efficient, speedy way possible, you zigzag a bit. You shift your rudder, you trim your sails, maybe you let them out a bit, and you catch whatever wind you can. Now, that may seem to take you pretty far afield of your destination, but you're zigzagging, right? And you're getting there. There's one really important piece of equipment on a little sailboard, and I was in charge of it because I was the little kid who could adjust this thing. It's called a centerboard, right? It's like a wooden fin that goes down into the water in the middle of the boat. It's invisible when the boat is sailing, but it keeps the boat from being pushed too hard off course by the winds. And I'm just going to ask you now, what's your centerboard? Right? Is it a trusted friend that you can count on to tell you the truth? Is it a family member? Is it your faith? Is it something you know for sure, no matter what else is happening to you in your life? Make sure you set your centerboard. Put it down deep. Make sure that the wind isn't pushing you too far. And that way, even if the winds are changeable, even adverse, you're going to make slow and steady progress toward your goal. Now you're embarking on a new leg of your journey, and we'll still be your crew. We really will. The faculty, I'm sure every member of the faculty sitting on this stage can think of one or two or maybe more conversations, phone calls they've gotten from graduates asking a question about contracts or property or professional responsibility. And we are here for you. You can call upon us. We want to continue to support you on this next part of your journey. I know Doretta Sweeney and Shelley Sadin will be working very closely with you as you continue to develop your careers. But we can't predict how the winds are going to push you around. Our profession is changing so radically and so quickly, it's going to take a very nimble captain with mastery of the equipment, some flexibility to stay on course. And I think if you think of your legal education as the sails of this ship, right, you'll adjust them and make them work for you. But I urge you, don't change your destination just because the wind isn't taking you there as efficiently and as quickly as you may want to go. Be willing to take a different course, even if it means you'll shift, you'll turn your sails, you'll turn your rudder, and you'll get there eventually. And think about that center board and keep it in position. Now, I'm going to ask you to pull out what could serve as a center board for you, if you don't have another. This piece of paper that may look familiar to you, and friends and family sitting here, many of you have heard these words before, or something close to them as well. In orientation, our students take a student's professional oath, and it guides their work while they're here with us at Quinnipiac. And now, as they are setting out on their careers, I'm going to ask you all to stand and to raise your hand again as you did at orientation, and to speak with me the graduate's professional oath. I am leaving the academic community at Quinnipiac University School of Law and embarking on a professional career. As a law student and future lawyer, I understand that the study and practice of law carry both privileges and responsibilities. I willingly accept the responsibilities that accompany those privileges and the responsibilities that the faculty, the bench, the bar, and the public entrust to me. I promise to do my utmost to adhere to the ideals of the legal profession and to uphold the highest standards, honesty, and ethical practice during my career. I will remember that my actions reflect not only on me, but upon Quinnipiac University School of Law, my fellow alumni, and the legal profession. To strengthen the legal community, I will conduct myself with dignity and civility, and will treat all of my colleagues with kindness and respect. I will conduct my professional and personal life so as to uphold the values and standards that are expressed in the rules of professional conduct and the traditions of the legal profession. Thank you. Bon voyage, everyone. And now I invite Leonard Fasano, Alexander Micklejohn, Mark Thompson, and John Leahy to step forward.
Leonard A. Fasano, you have served with distinction in the Connecticut Senate since January 2003, representing the 34th Senatorial District. Last year, your Republican colleagues unanimously elected you Senate Minority Leader. As the president and founder of the New Haven law firm of Fasano, Ippolito, and Lee, you bring your legal knowledge to bear not only on your leadership position, but also as ranking member on the General Assembly's Legislative Management Committee and the Bipartisan Roundtable on Hospitals and Healthcare, which you co-chair. Among your many accomplishments, you have worked to make state government more efficient, to enhance the transparency and oversight of hospital conversions, and in support of efforts to protect Long Island Sound. You have long been a friend of Quinnipiac University, and our School of Law is proud to count you among its alumni. In appreciation of your exemplary leadership and service to the state of Connecticut, Quinnipiac University is pleased to confer upon you this honorary Doctor of Laws degree on this 10th day of May, 2015.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, Senator.
That was nerve-wracking. Thank you very much. I want to thank Quinnipiac Law School for this recognition, but most importantly, I want to thank the law school for giving me the tremendous skills and confidence that allowed me to embark both on a legal and political career. This law school has so many talented and caring professors. Some, in fact, taught me while I'm here. Professor Micklejohn taught me contracts when I was here. Dean King was here when I was here and taught property. Professor Ford, Professor Margulies, who, for those of you who know, used to say first-year law school students are fungible. We don't need them. We'll just put somebody else in that seat. Professor Robinson, whose exams went on for days, as I recall. Terrific, terrific faculty. And as I stand here and name a few, I know what you're thinking. How old are these people, actually? I also want to congratulate all of you on graduating from this wonderful institution. Your family and friends should be so proud. But the day has really begun for you. You can make a lot of decisions. Law is so cool. It is a living animal. It defines our society. It restricts our society. It interprets our society. It changes based upon our society. As a lawyer, you live on that edge. You live with that ability for you to go out and make powerful statements that ultimately will change laws. In fact, a number of you worked on the criminal justice bill that just passed the Senate. And without your help, that bill would not be on its way to be a law here in the state of Connecticut. See, lawyers are a key to a successful and free society. In Henry VI, it said, the famous quote, "The first thing we do is kill all the lawyers." And people looked at that as a negative. It is a positive, because it is the lawyers that protect society. It is the lawyers that are voice for the voiceless. So if you get rid of them, a tyrant can run over society. That is your obligation that you're taking here today as you graduate. But remember, just because you're a lawyer does not mean you're going to be successful. Doesn't happen automatically. Your education is like any other tool. It depends on what you do with it. Congratulations, happy Mother's Day to the moms in the audience, and thank you, the university, for this great honor.
Thank you, Senator Fasano, and congratulations. Well, now it is my pleasure to invite Harold Hongshu Ko, Linda Meyer, Mark Thompson, and John Leahy to step forward.
Harold Hongshu Ko, you are widely regarded as one of the country's foremost experts in public and private international law, national security law, and human rights. Currently, you are the Sterling Professor of International Law at Yale Law School, where you have taught since 1985. You have fulfilled several roles at Yale, including serving as the school's 15th dean from 2004 to 2009. Then, you took a leave from your chair as Martin R. Flug Professor of International Law to serve for 4 years as the 22nd legal advisor to the United States State Department. In the challenging position of legal advisor, you performed 4 distinct functions that you have described as counselor, conscience, defender of U.S. interests, and spokesperson for international law. You have said that one of the most important parts of the job involves advising the Secretary of State when a policy option being proposed is, quote, lawful but awful, unquote. For your work there, you received the Secretary of State's Distinguished Service Award from former Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton. From 1993 to 2009, you were the Gerald C. and Bernice Latrobe Smith Professor of International Law at Yale, serving for 3 years during that time as the United States Assistant Secretary of State for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor. In recognition of your significant and path-breaking legal scholarship and your distinguished government service, Quinnipiac University is pleased to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws this 10th day of May, 2015.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to introduce our commencement speaker, my dear friend and mentor, Harold Hongju Ko.
President Leahy, Provost Thompson, Dean Brown, honored judges, Senator Fasano, Dr. Fasano, faculty, alumni, and friends. I'm so honored to receive this degree from this very special law school where I've come so often over so many years. It was a lovely citation. What they left out is I am a New Haven boy. I lived here since 1961. And I'm especially honored to be part of a ceremony that's presided over by my dear friend and colleague, your extraordinary Dean, Jennifer Brown. And like your great and good Dean Brad Saxton before her, Jennifer has poured her heart and soul into this school and made it very distinctive. A school where every student believes that a good lawyer brings his or her whole personal and professional self to serve the whole client, understanding the client's legal problems not in isolation, but in the context of a much larger mix of political, social, financial, and emotional concerns. The whole lawyer for the whole client. To me, like everyone here, graduations mean family. As a young boy, I remember watching my late father sitting at his desk writing our tuition checks. He looked so worried one day. I said, "Dad, I'm sorry, my tuition is so expensive." And he said, "Never be sorry. Why do you think I work? Why do you think I live? We don't have much to give you, but when we give you education, we give you everything." And so like you, my fellow graduates, I owe this very special degree to my family. Now, in that spirit, let me point to two women over there, the most important women in my life. They're looking very happy because for once someone in our family got a degree and they didn't have to pay tuition. The first is my wife of 30 years, Christy Fisher, who exemplifies the kind of wholly committed lawyer Dean Brown asks you to be. For more than 3 decades, she served the public interest here in Connecticut as a law professor, legal services attorney, and most recently as a lawyer for returning veterans at the Connecticut Veterans Legal Center. Over the decades, this school has become very much a part of her as well. She's worked regularly with and befriended many graduates of this school. She's supervised Quinnipiac law students in her offices, and she's held trainings both here and in your old campus. And sitting next to her is my mom, Dr. Haesung Chun Ko. Like some of you and some of your parents, she is an immigrant and a first-generation American. She came from South Korea almost 70 years ago as a freshman in college, where she met another young Korean immigrant, my late dad. And over the next 7 decades, she became the mother of 6, the grandmother of 11, the great-grandmother of 4, and still counting. Along the way, she earned her own PhD, taught countless students, published many books and articles, moved our family here to New Haven more than 50 years ago, and founded a civic organization, East Rock Institute, to promote Korean-U.S. relations. And most of all, she insisted that we give back. So 4 of her children became professors, 3 became deans, and 2 of us served in the Obama administration. I tell you this because today is Mother's Day, and each of you has their own story about the special moms in your life. As a Mother's Day gift, I hope we could take this moment to give all of the moms here what they really deserve, which is a standing ovation. Oh, Mom, I got you a card, too. We have the privilege of living in a remarkable country, always struggling to form a more perfect union. I grew up here because my late father came here to study law and ended up serving his government as a Korean diplomat in Washington. But his government was overthrown by a military coup, which is why I grew up in America. And when I was representing the U.S. at the United Nations, I was sitting next to an ambassador from another country. And he turned to me and he said, as they often do, "I just Googled you." He said, "You know, your father was an ambassador to the United States. In one generation, you became an ambassador from the United States. That only happens in America, and that is why America is the greatest nation on earth." What he was saying, it is not your weapons, it is not your wealth, it is your openness, it is your diversity, your commitment to advancement through law that is the source of America's global leadership. And when I served in government, there was not a day that I didn't marvel that the son of Korean immigrants could give legal advice to a woman Secretary of State and an African American president, all of us lawyers, in a country where not so long ago, none of us would have had the right to vote. Now, some of you, my fellow graduates, are also immigrants and children of immigrants. Some of you are the first to graduate from law school from your family. Some of you entered law fearing that it would be an old boy network, only to find in your class a more diverse and supportive group than you could have imagined. And as I look out over this graduating class, I can't help but recall what Jackie Robinson once said about baseball. He said, "You know, it became a much, much better game when everyone could play." And I'm so proud to be a member of this class, which has shown so much flexibility and leadership during a time of historic transition. Your last few years has been filled with change at all levels, a new campus, a new dean, a new employment environment, the retirement of some of your most treasured professors. You moved from a beautiful Mount Carmel campus to this beautiful North Haven campus. And that required everybody in the school, deans, faculty, students, administrators, to work so closely together. For your school to succeed, a huge percentage of your graduating class must show leadership. And this class has shown it magnificently in journals, on moot court, mock trial, Society for Dispute Resolution, the Student Bar Association. As your law school days end, let me ask you this question, posed by the poet Mary Oliver in her poem, The Summer Day. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? You now have your education, even if you don't know your next job. But where will it lead? Yale's chaplain, William Sloane Coffin, once said, "The goal of education is not to drive a wedge between thought and action. It is to enable action of a higher kind." What higher kind of action will yours be? Let me venture 2 predictions which I hope will come true. First, I hope you take the lessons of this school to heart, and in everything you do, promote both the public and the private interest. After law school, when I told my mom about the income I would be earning at my new firm, she paused and said, "Do they need you the most?" I said, Mom, I'm making this much money. She said, do they need you the most? She said, you know, you have so much privilege. You have the most privilege. Isn't it time for you to serve the least privileged? So as your career unfolds, think of that question and think of what you can do to serve the public good as you see it. Even if you're not sure what you're doing next, yours has been a remarkably service-oriented class. And there are so many ways that law graduates can give back by working as government lawyers, taking pro bono cases, leading civil and civic society organizations, organizing action groups within your churches or your communities. You've honed your skills here by working with public interest firms like New Haven Legal Assistance and Connecticut Veterans Legal Center, by giving time to the Public Interest Project or the International Human Rights Law Society, which each year sends a student-led delegation to Nicaragua. And between Baltimore, Ferguson, Staten Island, Sandy Hook, these have been difficult and stressful years. So please, in the years ahead, ask, in President Kennedy's words, what you can do for your country, because frankly, it has never needed you more. My second prediction is that inevitably, your work will combine the local and the global. For you belong to the first genuinely global generation. The defining image of your generation is not a world divided by the Berlin Wall. It is one connected by a World Wide Web. A friend told me, if 30 years ago you could sit on a park bench and hold all the world's knowledge in your lap, they would have called you a god. Today, it's just you using your laptop to surf Wikipedia. 30 years ago, if you could walk down the street talking and they could hear your voice in China, they would have said, you're a god. Today, it's just you calling Beijing on your cell phone. But here's the catch. Until now, you have usually thought of these technologies as toys, not tools. You've used them to imagine yourself a rock star or a candy crusher or, okay, a car thief. How many of you have used these tools to lift others out of disease or poverty? Many of you have used the internet to fight imaginary wars. How often have you used it to end real wars? That will be one of your many challenges in the years ahead. And if you are to do it, you'll need to use my own life's tool, international law. Whether you work in government, trade, intellectual property, commercial transactions, civil or human rights, or family law. The framers of the Declaration of Independence called on our new nation to give decent respect to the opinions of mankind. But too many of today's Americans, even many of our elected officials, think international law is not really law, and that we Americans need not respect it. What I have learned in my time is respecting international law is not just our founding national principle. In most cases, it's both the just and right thing to do. Of course, it cannot be a straitjacket, but as we've learned since 9/11, if we don't obey international law, we squander our moral authority, diminish our capacity to lead, and weaken international law's ability to protect our own citizens. At my own law school graduation, I heard law described as the wise restraints that make us free. And to those who fear that international law binds us, I say international law frees us. Frees us. International law frees us. In the last 2 days, I started in The Hague. I went to London. I went to North Carolina. Last night, I flew into JFK, and today I'm here. I communicated, traveled, studied, worked, and engaged in global markets because of international law. That is what freed me to do what never could have been done years ago. Some fear if we engage the international system, we'll lose our sovereignty. But sovereignty today means proactively addressing those problems that demand global solutions, like climate change, global health, food security, internet governance, and yes, counterterrorism. But if we don't attack those problems together within a framework of international law, we will have no global solutions. So as you make and tackle these twin challenges, public service, globalization, let me make 3 simple requests. First, fly into the flame. Try new things. Take that risk. Ships, even in Illinois, are safe in harbor, but harbors are not what ships are for. Others will urge you to play it safe. You have to urge yourself to take chances. And new beginnings are scary. Everyone is afraid. Let's face it. Deep down today, under everything else, you are afraid. You should be. But guess what? I'm afraid too. I've been afraid my whole career. But there's no shame in being afraid. The only shame is in not daring. And your greatest satisfactions will come when you succeed in the face of your greatest fears. Second, remember my Korean mother's favorite saying, never let your skill exceed your virtue. Never let your skill exceed your virtue. As lawyers, you will develop skills that will give you power that few people possess. The tools to throw people in jail, to save millions of dollars, to destroy people's lives. Please use these tools wisely, and remember that each has its time and place. After all, iPhones are great when you have to communicate with Moscow, but they really have no place at the dinner table. And use the awesome power of cross-examination to break down a hostile witness, sure, but try to turn it off when you're talking to your own children. Third, live your values. They make you who you are. In the years ahead, you'll have many clients. Your most constant client will be the integrity of the law itself. And so it's true. A good lawyer is not just a counselor who tells her client what the law says. She's a conscience who warns her client. Don't follow an option which is lawful but awful. So as a lawyer, never forget 2 phrases. I'm going to give you 2 phrases. Write them down. First, I don't know. I don't know. You're going to say that a lot these first few years. You should. Because it's a long way from being a good law student to being a good lawyer. Sometimes you won't be sure, especially at the start. Say, I don't know. Don't fake it. Be honest. Don't be embarrassed about not knowing. But don't just say, I don't know. Say, I'll get right back to you. You'll find out, and give them the right answer soon enough. And then the second crucial word, no. Practice that with me now. No. All lawyers want to tell your clients yes. All clients want to hear yes. Everybody wants yes. What's much harder is sometimes you have to tell them no. I looked at the law. It says no. What part of no don't you understand? And if you threaten me that you'll get another lawyer, I'll call that lawyer and tell them to say no. As one of my predecessors as legal advisor put it, never tell your client no when the law and conscience say yes, but never, ever say yes when the law tells you no. So let me close with bad news and good news. The bad news, in the years ahead, you will face many difficult choices. Often you will feel very lonely. For all the love arrayed around you today, there are some decisions only you can make, and only you will make them. But here's the good news. As you face these hard choices about life and law, more and more you will come to trust yourselves. You will come to believe in yourselves. After years of seeking wisdom for others, you will find it in yourselves. So today, before you leave, look up here at your teachers. Think of the ideas and hours they've shared with you. Think of your loved ones, those who are here and those who couldn't be here. Draw strength from their enormous faith and love in you. Look at your classmates. Remember all you shared together. But finally, most important, when you take off your robe, take a moment and look inside yourselves and trust the wisdom that you find there. And as Adlai Stevenson once said, as you leave here, remember why you came. Remember your dreams, remember your values, the values that brought you here and that brought you through here. Happy graduation, class of 2015. Congratulations and Godspeed.
Thank you so much, Harold. Well, next it's my pleasure to call to the podium a person who has been serving the law school night and day for the past year, who stepped in at my request, sort of at the last minute, to run academic affairs for the law school. Dean Dunlap has done a wonderful job this year. I'm so grateful to him, and I'm very pleased that he will be calling your names as you receive your degrees. Bill Dunlap.
Thank you, Dean Brown. The graduating students selected 3 professors to hood them at this commencement ceremony. And I'd like to ask them to come forward now. Professor Robert Farrell, Professor Mary Ferrari, and Professor Alexander Micklejohn. Will the marshals please bring the candidate for the Juris Doctor Award forward? And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to present to you the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor in the Quinnipiac University class of 2015. Erica Charla Rocha. Ariel R. DeAugust. Owen Firestone. Christopher J. Farrell. William Schaffner Bennett. Arliss Rosemary Hudson. Frank P. Cirillo. Andrew William Mustoni. David M. Riccardelli. John Raphael Pichardo. Kimberly Angelica Johnson. Marcia P. Blake. Jennifer Rachel Edna Rawlings. Vanessa M. Brown Toussaint. Deborah V. Abrams. Jessica Nicole Kippett. Janie L. McDermott. Melissa Cowan. Kimberly Lon Osborne. Catherine E. Cleaves. Alexander W.F. Ahrens. Alex M. Guziak. Gregory M. Milano. Brett Mark Andrus. Kelly N. Ford. Alyssa Brianne Heller. Brianna Nicole Boudreau. Deborah Lynn Barbie. Megan Marie Collins. Lindsay Lee Goldsmith. Scott Kenneth Goldsmith. William W. Toomer IV. Jason S. Maddox. Matthew J. Snell. Carolyn Atalia Trotta. Jacqueline Lee Lentz. Sarah Ann Seaman. Kristen Elizabeth Hana. Jonathan Fisher. Tyler H. Goblins. Alex John Baptist. Robert Pethick. Cassandra Boscello. Zoe Elizabeth Atlas. Paul R. Grabowski. Amanda E. L. Emily Catherine Carr. Michaela Ann Kurzawa. Chelsea F. Ruzzo. Sonal Bhatnagar. Carrie Ann E. Kane. Megan K. Lefford. Mark Williams. Jonathan Lewis Canestri. Louis Rinaldi. Peter T. Sabelico. Jennifer Jekyll. Patricia Jimenez. Justin L. Durelli. Travis W. Nunziato. Laura Dowling Thurston. Nicole Marie Livesey. Anne Marie Vale. Elizabeth Kate Moran. Courtney Elizabeth Rowland. Melissa Ann Tharp, to be hooded by her uncle Charles Tharp from the class of 2008. Alexa Lynn Parr. Taylor J. Equi. Ellen Rosemary Sutcliffe Hain. Bobby Borsellino. Nicole A. Carnamola. Sarah E. O'Brien. Stephen Thomas Smith. Robert Joseph Santoro. Rebecca Lynn O'Neill. Kelsey Crivero. Matthew E. Copera. Elizabeth A. Holman. Kristen A. Regan. Leanne Reether. Amanda Telesco. David S. Bryant. Nicole Lynn Jupin. Stephanie Melissa Gomes. Denise Andrea Kroll. Sorry. Jessica Ashley Susan Wengler. David S. LaFollette. James Walsh Dick. Clifford Garnett. Michael Earl Spinelli. Nikki St. Amand Bossert. Matthew D. Glennon. Frank William Eucalito. Olivia Marie Hebenstreit. James Edward Wolfe, Jr. Nicholas R. Stango. Juan Hiron Sanchez. Marissa Montalban McGill. Chelsea Catherine Vitry. Zachary T. Zide. Amy Lynn Mahan. Courtney Lorette Sharp. Daryl Howard. Michael John Aiello. Adam J. Tucia. Jenna Ann LaRusso. Michael D. Stanoha. Brooke Amber Goff. Melissa G. Rua. Mr. President, it is my privilege to present to you the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor in the Quinnipiac University class of 2015.
Please rise. You can imagine the ovation you'll get after I confer your degrees. By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations to each and every one of you.
You may be seated. It is now my great honor and privilege to introduce our student speaker for today, Erica Rocha.
Thank you, Dean Brown, and good morning. President Leahy, Harold Coe, Senator Fasano, faculty and administration, family, friends, and alumni, thank you for joining us today in this commencement celebration. As Student Bar Association President, I am honored to be able to speak on behalf of the graduating class of 2015. I want to take a moment to thank our family, our friends, our partners. Thank you for your support, your love and encouragement, and most of all, thank you for your patience, especially during finals. I want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers in the audience, especially my own mom. I love you. Without you and without your support, we couldn't be here today celebrating our success. I also want to wish a happy Mother's Day to the mothers in our graduating class. I commend and admire your hard work and dedication, and for striking a balance that I truly applaud. To my fellow classmates, soon-to-be lawyers, the graduating class of 2015, we did it! Graduating from Quinnipiac University's School of Law means that we have special skills. And I don't mean the ability to read thousands of pages of cases and single-handedly keep every highlighter company in business. I mean that we have special skills, unique skills, skills that set us apart from all other law students. We are hardworking. And I don't just mean in a typical study all day, even pull an all-nighter type of way. I mean that we are hardworking in an all-encompassing, give it all you got sort of way. We don't just work hard in our classes, we work hard in our externships, our clinics, our moot court and mock trial competitions, and on our journals. You can ask any member of this graduating class what they're involved in, and the list will go on and on. At our small law school, we are proud to be able to offer just as much as any large law school. And we can do that because of our hard work, our dedication, and our commitment to excellence. We are the quintessential multitaskers, and because of that, we are going to go on to do great things in our towns, in our state, in our country, and around the world. At a time where our country is demanding justice and true equality, marriage equality, gender equality, racial equality, here we are, and we're ready. Our legal system works only as well as those who advocate within it. And because of our talents, our special skills, we are prepared for this task. We've gained our special skills from our amazing professors at Quinnipiac. From Professor Meiklejohn, we've learned to always be prepared. And being prepared doesn't just mean reading a case once, it means reading it over and over again until you can reduce it to a diagram. When Professor Meiklejohn reads from his handwritten notes the background story or inside scoop behind a case, we're taught to go above and beyond to learn the details of our case. We've learned that each element of a person's story is important and worthy of our attention. We are effective communicators. After getting cold called throughout 1L year by Professor Margulies, we know that nothing can shake us. We can think on our feet and respond clearly and articulately, no matter what kind of mysterious question we're asked, like which one doesn't fit, dogs, cats, or electric trains. We know the importance of humor and how it builds lasting, memorable relationships. From Professor Farrell, we've learned that a joke can last about 3 years before it gets old. We appreciate the importance of a good laugh, and we will build more meaningful client relationships because of it. Through all of our negotiation classes and our experiences on the Society for Dispute Resolution, we've learned the importance of compassion and empathy. We know that the winning side is not the person who argues the loudest, but the person who listens the most. We know that the winning side is not necessarily the most intelligent person, but the most creative person, the most innovative person. With these special skills, we are ready for the future that lies ahead. As lawyers, we have a responsibility to uphold the law, put justice and truth at the center of our society, and be a resource for those in need. We are ready to be leaders, to be social engineers, because that is what our 3 years of law school have trained us to be. We've reached the end of our 3-year journey together, a journey that has unlocked greatness, intelligence, and passion within all of us. Greatness that we might not have ever known we had. Purpose that we might not have ever imagined. As we move on from today, I hope we all remember where this journey began, where we gained these special skills. Down the road, whether we're basking in massive success or facing a period of deep disappointment, let us remind ourselves of and turn to the community that always cares about us. In ending my speech today, I want to leave you with a quote about leadership from my personal role model, Sheryl Sandberg. Leadership is not bullying, and leadership is not aggression. Leadership is the expectation that you can use your voice for good, that you can make the world a better place. Class of 2015, thank you for your time today, and thank you for letting me be a part of such a hardworking, dedicated, driven, and compassionate class. Let us go on and make the world a better place. Thank you.
Well, after that, I think you can all very well understand why the students of Quinnipiac chose Erica to be their leader this year. And Erica, I want to thank you for the ways we've worked together this year. You've been a wonderful advocate for students and a truth teller, but always diplomatically, and I really appreciate that. Well, it is now my pleasure to present another truth teller who has been chosen by the graduating class as Professor of the Year, Alexander Micklejohn.
Thank you, Dean Brown. President Leahy, Professor Coe, Senator Fasano, other members of the platform party, friends and family members, and of course, most importantly, members of the class of 2015. I'm deeply grateful for the recognition you've given me, for very kind comments by Ms. Rocha, Patty Jimenez, and Chelsea Rizzo, and for the opportunity to speak to you briefly, I assure you, on this very happy occasion. Senator Fasano, I want to start with you in response to that, I guess, question about age, and just say that for myself, I still buy green bananas. I also want you to know that when I realized that we would both be on the program today, and I reflected on the fact that that contracts course you took from me was the first law school course I ever taught, I was tempted to offer to make a contract with you. In that contract, if you had promised not to repeat anything I said in that classroom, I would have done the same for you. But then I decided that I couldn't make that contract with you because if we made it, it would be unconscionable, unreasonably one-sided in my favor. That's because, although I know I said a lot of things during that year that I wouldn't want to hear repeated today, I don't remember anything that you said that you wouldn't want to hear repeated today. So instead, I just want to thank you and your classmates for your generous willingness to work with a totally green teacher as he began to figure out how to do his job. I really appreciate that very, very much. When I think of Mother's Day, I always remember a New Yorker cartoon that was published many years ago. It showed a statue of a man wearing a military uniform, standing tall and looking very stern. There was a plaque on the pedestal of the statue, and it said, "Adam Smith, soldier, statesman, philosopher, and patriot, but still a disappointment to his mother." I know that's not the sentiment of the mothers who are here today, and of course it shouldn't be. For those of you who are graduating, I want to take you back for just a minute to the beginning of your law school careers. I'm sure you remember going through orientation, getting all kinds of good advice from lots of people, and then sitting down to get ready for your first law school classes. You read the material, which seemed actually pretty logical and understandable, and pretty clear, and you told yourselves that you were ready for those first classes, even if you were hoping that you wouldn't get called on. Then you went to class and the fun began. Even if you were as ready as you were, your teachers asked questions that seemed to be designed to make you doubt everything you had figured out the night before. And all the clarity went up in smoke. The beliefs you had formed the night before about the quality of your preparation, in retrospect, looked like delusions of adequacy. And you may very well have had the impression that nearly everybody else in the classroom understood more than you did. Your teachers didn't let up, and the confusion persisted. You could have been forgiven for wondering how the administration had managed to find teachers who were so good at undermining your beliefs about legal problems as fast as you formed them. As Patty Jimenez said recently, the overall point may have seemed to be that certainty is an illusion. The terminology could also be very confusing, even though, to Professor Farrell's everlasting chagrin, there's much less Latin in American law than there used to be. And you encountered strange creatures like unborn widows and fertile octogenarians and all sorts of crazy interests in property. But you persisted, and gradually the fog began to lift in a few places. You kept on persisting, and more ideas became clear, and you gradually realized that you were in fact going to be able to, quote, think like a lawyer. That doesn't mean that you knew, much less understood, all the law that's out there. There's way too much of it for that. But it does mean, if I can paraphrase Patty Jimenez again, that you began to realize that learning about the law and how to help people solve legal problems was possible, and also that it was going to be a career-long process. The message I want to leave you with today is that you've made an excellent start on that journey. In more than 30 years of teaching, both at Quinnipiac and at another law school in the Midwest, I have never found students to be better prepared, more open and receptive, or more engaged in thoughtful and enlightening discussion than the members of this class whom I've had the pleasure of teaching. The work that you've done has been truly impressive. I'll close with a story that makes that point in a different way, a story that Professor Ferrari told me I should tell you. One of my personal rules is to always do what Professor Ferrari tells me to do, unless Professor Robinson tells me not to, in which case I have a big problem. This is a story about a circus that had one of these acts in which a human being is shot from a cannon at one end of the tent and lands on a net at the other end of the tent. The circus had been running this act for years. It had been very popular, and then finally the guy who had been shot from the cannon for all those years decided to retire. When he retired, the circus management had a party for him, and at the party he was talking to one of the circus managers. And the manager said he was pleased that the cannon guy was going to be able to enjoy his retirement, but the occasion was a sad one for the circus. And the cannon guy said, "Why not? Why is it so sad?" And the circus manager said that the circus wasn't confident that the act was going to continue. And the cannon guy said, "Why not?" He said, "Can't you just hire somebody else and keep it going?" and the manager said, "We're not sure we'll be able to find someone of your caliber." She told me to tell it. Knowing that schools are judged by the caliber of their graduates, and having worked closely with the members of this class, my colleagues and I have great faith in the future of this law school. We've had a wonderful time teaching you. We wish you the best of luck in everything that you do, and we hope very much that you'll stay in touch with us in the coming years. Again, thank you so much, and congratulations to you all.
At this point, I would like to ask everyone to stand and remain standing until the platform party has recessed. Graduates and families, you are invited to a reception at the Rocky Top Student Center, and I look forward to seeing you there. I would ask the graduates to meet your families there at Rocky Top to just keep traffic rolling. And now I would like to call forward the Reverend Jordan Lenahan for our benediction.
Again, I would invite you to bow your heads. Graduates, as you go forth from Quinnipiac today, may you have the courage and fortitude always to seek justice. May you have right judgment in your decision-making. And may wisdom and prudence be the hallmarks of your lives. Amen.